Ready, should be ready. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please, Hageman, would you take the roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz here, Mrs. Butler here, Mrs. Donahue here, Mr. B. Here.
Stand to a pledge, please. You're ready.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, just want to alert the board that item. Let's see, where is it? Item B under 11, discussion request for proposal, stadium bleachers. Still have that listed under discussion if we want to have more talk, but looking for the board to make a motion to approve that. Allow us to seek quotes for the visitor bleachers.
So a motion to approve the request for proposal, right? As you can.
Yes. Like we're actually authorizing.
Any other discussion?
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes. The next thing on our agenda is the appointment of a new board member. Do we normally do- Yeah, you can read it. Resolution to fill Board of Education vacancy. Whereas a vacancy has been caused on the Bethel Local School District Board of Education by reason of resignation. And whereas this Board of Education has a legal authority to fill a vacancy for unexpired term thereof. Now therefore be it resolved by a majority vote of all remaining members of the Board of Education of the Bethel Local School District that Mrs. Rachel Kiplinger be hereby is appointed to serve as a member of the Board of Education of this school district for unexpired term of March 19, 2024, ending on December 31st, 2025. Do I have a motion to pass the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, will you take roll, please? Sure.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes. When you're ready, we'll administer the oath now.
That was my favorite thing.
You can work on. Yeah.
Wherever you would like to stand, Rachel. Okay, so just repeat after me. I'll hold it this way so we both can see it. How's that?
Okay.
I, Rachel Kiplinger, how do I say it? Kiplinger, do solemnly swear that I will support
I, Rachel Kiplinger, do solemnly swear that I will support
the constitutions of the United States and the state of Ohio,
the constitutions of the United States and the state of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as board member in and for the said Bethel Local School District
as board member in and for the said Bethel Local School District
in Miami County, Ohio,
Miami County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted.
and hereafter to be enacted
During my continuance in said office and until my successor is chosen and qualified.
during my continuance in said office and until my successor is chosen and qualified.
There you go. Yours.
Thank you.
Just wanted to state that we received interest from 2 qualified candidates, interviewed both, and while either would have been acceptable, the board selected the individual whose vision moving forward and more closely aligns with that of the majority of the board members. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Now the approval of minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry, Jackie, can you speak up? please?
I'm sorry, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. Ms. Hageman, will you take roll, please?
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
and Mrs. I'm gonna mess up your name every
Kiplinger.
time, Kiplinger. Do you want to abstain or did you?
I'm
have a
gonna
chance?
abstain.
Okay.
All right, now we got special presentation. You wanna?
Do an introduction? Love to. So while Miss Claire Preston is making her way to the podium, call everybody's attention to the expanded upcoming presentations list for the next 2 months. We're gonna double up. And next month we'll have our athletic director and middle school principal and math teachers presenting. So appreciate the board allowing us to double up and share the good happenings, good things going on in our buildings. So tonight, speaking of great things happening, I'm really proud of the steps we've taken over the last 2 years in supporting our English language learners. And tonight with us is Claire Preston, who is on loan to us from the Montgomery County ESC 2 days a week and is serving as our EL coordinator and ELL curriculum supervisor. We get a lot out of her for 2 days, a lot more than 2 days. So it's been great working with Claire, and without further ado, I'll let her go with her presentation. Thanks for being with us, Claire.
Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for asking me to come and share more about who our English learners are and what the support looks like at the school. I've been here, this is year 3 for me. Second year as a coordinator. Last year I worked just with newcomers. So I'd just like to share some insights about our program with you all. So first of all, identifying English learners. When people register at our school, they are asked if they speak a language other than English at home. And if they do, then we will screen their language proficiency level. And if they qualify as an English learner, we test them once a year in springtime. This is actually testing season right now. And that we use the OWELPA test. That's called the Ohio English Language Proficiency Assessment. And so English learners, they require modified instruction. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But conversational fluency can develop very quickly depending on personality. So students can become conversational very, very quickly. But that academic language that will give them success in their classroom, that can take 5 to 7 years, sometimes a little less, sometimes more. Some people think that modifying instruction can mean translating all of the classwork. And I really want to emphasize that when there's a newcomer who knows no English, that can be really helpful, but it can quickly inhibit their language growth and cause students to rely overly on that translation. And so helping teachers understand what modifications look like, that's part of what the EL specialists at our school do. And so the OWELPA test, it tests reading, writing, listening, and speaking. It's a long test. And once students receive all 4s and 5s, then they're considered proficient. Now, if that happens in the younger grades, it's interesting because we're still developing academic language. So some people say that up to, I'm trying to find the exact numbers, but up to a third of our student population might be multilingual or speaking a language other than English at home. So even though I'm going to share the number of English learners we have, please keep in mind that a much larger number benefit from the services that we provide. So the best way that I could think of to share data with you all was to look at the number of students we have tested every year. Again, we're required to test all English learners. Back in 2016, which is the earliest date I could find the records for my purposes, Bethel had 106 students that we tested. And I can add more exact numbers, but as you can see, it has more than tripled in 8 years. So this year we have 334 students that we are testing. A few of those students are at the CTC. There are a couple of students who need more specialized care, so they might be in some Tip City schools, but the majority, almost all of those students are here at Bethel. Also, I'm gonna give you a few minutes, of course, to ask questions. Here's your question. So, English learners are the fastest growing population in United States schools. So I'm really proud of Bethel. I actually facilitate a network of people in the region over at the ESC. And when I got here, the coordinator, she had some excellent processes in place. She has done some cutting edge things, in my opinion, that I've been able to share with other programs. And just to compare the number of students that we have who are EL, we have more than Kettering City Schools. Kettering has a lot. So this is a really significant number of students that we have. But again, this is the fastest growing population. So we kind of are leaders in the region, and we're up there at the top of the region as far as the number that we have here. Also, most of our English learners are in kindergarten through 5th grade, and that's because many are born here in the United States. And it took me a while to realize that my own grandfather was an English learner. They lived up north in northern Ohio, but they spoke German at home. And so he was an English learner and he learned English in kindergarten. So that's the case with many of our English learners. They encounter English in kindergarten. And so they test out quickly. So our largest population are the Ahiska Turkish people who speak Russian, Uzbek, Ukrainian, and Turkish, kind of a mix of Russian and Turkish. That's their specific dialect. We also have a lot of Hispanic people. We have some Arabic speakers, Indian people. I think the majority of them speak Punjabi. We also have some African countries represented. One student I know is from DRC, and then a few Asian countries. I hope I hit on everything. There might be a few more. We have a lot of meals here. So, as I said before, we've really responded beautifully to the extreme growth that we've experienced here. It's been about building capacity. There have been a lot of professional development for the staff. The teachers here are very open. They reach out, they ask for help. Their heart is in it. They care about teaching and teaching well. And so that's been wonderful to witness. Also, thanks to the board, they have approved curriculum. We have made purchases of technology, which is very important, as well as bilingual dictionaries. And we've been able to have family engagement events, also celebrations. Every year we celebrate the number of students who test out. So you saw that growth. We're also testing a lot of students out. So you can imagine just the growth that we're seeing here at Bethel. Also, something that the counselors have helped to do, and this is time consuming, but they work to cluster students together, especially in the middle school and the high school. And that allows us to focus our support into those groups and to really place them in classes that will benefit them the most. And then we can kind of also add language specialists to those groups. Also, next year, I'm excited that we will have a co-teaching situation between our middle school EL teacher and the language arts teacher. So that's really exciting. When I came here in 2021, there were 3 elementary school teachers, there was 1 middle high school teacher, and I was the EL coordinator. Now we have 4 full-time elementary teachers, 1 full-time middle school, 1 high school full-time teacher, myself as coordinator, and this is in yellow because I'm so excited about it. It's so important to show the community that we value the multilingual beauty of our school. And one way that we've done that is by adding 3 language specialists to our staff. And these are Ahiska Turkish people who know the community, who are on hand to make phone calls as needed, to respond to things within the building, again, building that capacity. But they also are able to go into classrooms, they're able to help modify classwork, they're able to translate things as needed in the classroom. And this has been enormous to have these language specialists in the building. So, okay. All right, so back to modifications, a lot of teachers are still learning what modifications look like. Like, okay, I'm supposed to modify, I'm spending all this time, I'm translating, and you know, I've got this packet in English, and now the packets, I put it in Russian, Ukrainian, Uzbek, like, and it's not like, you know, there's frustration. And so something that I've really encouraged is for more teachers to be trained in something called SIOP. So I've been in this field since 2003, and this is the most helpful thing that I've learned. I learned it in 2012, and then I've been using it for all of that time, and then I gained training in facilitating the training as well. This has been around for decades, at least 30 years, and SIOP essentially, it does not require any different curriculum. You are using the same curriculum, but you are adding some best practices to that curriculum. There are 30 things that you just try to include in every lesson. And I am really encouraging Bethel to have the entire faculty trained in this. Dayton Public Schools has done this. Centerville has sent a lot of students, or excuse me, a lot of teachers to be trained in this. But if we can really build capacity and come to agreement about what these modifications look like, it is going to level us up in the region, and it's going to help all of our students. This also helps all learners. And so just quickly, these are the 8 components. I don't want to bore you with, I get super excited about this, so I can talk about, I don't want to do this to you. But really quickly, I'm going to highlight my most favorite parts of this. So I tried to kind of explain what these things mean. You can see these are best practices in education, but some of the most impactful things that our teachers can very quickly benefit from is connecting directly to students' experiences as soon as they introduce a new topic. And a lot of teachers just need to be reminded that we need a lot of visuals, a lot of images, and we need to use those right at the beginning of a lesson. Also, our focus on academic vocabulary is what the students need the most. So just an emphasis on that and teaching, showing teachers what that looks like in practice. Also, people say, oh, you teach English learners. How many languages do you know? And I know some languages, but to be very honest with you, the students, I'm fluent in Spanish. My Spanish speakers learn the most slowly because I don't notice when they're switching languages. That does not benefit them. It is beneficial to understand how to slow our speaking, how to model, okay, I'm really expressive, that's because I'm an EL teacher. So like, just sign language, demonstrating everything. There's a lot that students can pick up just from us modeling and showing examples of what we expect from them. And so SIOP shows exactly what that looks like. Also, with practice, teachers don't think about the fact that our English learners, they love to just blend, or actually, our teachers do know this, there are some teachers in the room. Our English learners like to just blend and not draw attention to themselves. Do you understand? Yes, yes. And so learning how to not ask to understand, but ask concept checking questions like, what is an example of this in your life? Things like this is something that SIOP will teach. But also reminding teachers that let's group the students differently and have them read, write, listen, and speak in every lesson as much as possible. Because our students can go through a whole day, never speak, and then they're not learning to speak. And so lesson delivery, that just promotes student engagement. This helps with discipline. This helps engage everyone in the classroom. What benefits English learners, it will benefit everyone in the room. So that's kind of what SIOP is. Oh, that was so fast. Maybe it wasn't. I get super excited at this time. So thank you for letting me share with you. I'm sure you might have some questions for me, but yeah. Are there any things that you'd like to know about us or?
I don't even know what to begin. Thank you for the presentation, it was fantastic.
You have some wonderful teachers who are very skilled at reaching the kids, so fortunately they know what's going on.
Have you gotten any feedback from the teachers about SIOP? Like, has this come up in conversation at all with them? Is something they've heard of? or-
SIOP, yes, SIOP is accepted as just in general, like a good ESL program or TEFL or TESOL, whatever it's called. It's going to touch on these best practices. Yes, teachers want to learn about SIOP. I think that the people who are in the programs, they are learning this and they want more knowledge. I'm not sure that all of our ESL teachers have had this specific training, so it will benefit everyone to have this together. And something beneficial about it is that you can sit in content area groups and actually kind of go away from the training with some lessons that you can do right away. So everyone's on the same page. So we have been teaching SIOP as long as I've been here. So teach the bits and pieces. So Erin, who was she trained me in how to be a coordinator. So she and I would kind of co-present just little bits and pieces. So like our ESL teachers are sharing these practices, but doing whole 8 components would be impactful. So we're all on the same page. I'll be very honest with you. Our teachers are doing an excellent job, but they don't understand really what it means to modify a lesson like this would. I mean, they're doing it at different levels and they want to, but they don't have this in-depth training that it would just put us all on the same page. You know?
Again, then it wouldn't single out the kids either, right? Because everybody in the class would.
Oh yeah, it's the same content. It's inclusive and it benefits everyone. And once you get into it, teachers are very receptive because they quickly recognize, oh, I know what this is. These are best practices. So, you know, our special education teachers will say, oh yes, we do this and we do this. And then everyone kind of shares with one another. But it just helps us be cohesive and builds capacity over time. You know, like these changes are incremental. This is the biggest change this is the biggest thing that I find myself repeating, trying to explain. I'm here 2 days a week. So there just aren't enough of us. Like, teachers care, they want to know. And this would give them, this is the best impact that I can think of from my experience.
Thank you for coming tonight. I did want to ask, you mentioned that some students will test out and move on from the program. Do you know what approximately, what the percentage is? Have you, I mean, maybe you didn't study it for tonight, but do you kind of know off the top of your head?
The percentages, I feel like the list from last year, the students who tested out last year, I'm just visually thinking of
Yeah.
what that list looked like.
Yeah.
Around 30, I would say. Which is looking like 10%. All right, but then we gave them. They moved here because this is known as a great school district. We have an excellent reputation in the community, so I'm sure you've noticed, people are moving here. When I say I'm in Bethel, they're like, school district. But also the kindergartners come too.
So of the 334 that were tested, how many stayed, how many are still in the program, do you know?
So Friday is our last day of testing, and this is a really in-depth test, and it includes recording their voices, and then that's sent away to a different state. We don't get our results back until. And so then we quickly compile all of that and then have our celebration for people who tested out. So it depends.
But there's currently 334 students being
We tested
that are
that.
being taught.
On the most recent roster that I looked at, there are 334 who we tested. They are not all taught directly. They are the ones who are still receiving modifications.
Okay.
So that means they all get extended time. There are varying levels. We have a much smaller number of new who have the most beginner levels. I think it's.
So when you say test out, that's what you mean, like they're no longer getting any kind of special accommodations or?
We still keep an eye on them. We still monitor them for a couple of years to make sure that they're doing okay. We look at their grades. But yes, once they have all 4s and 5s on a scale of 1 to 5, they're considered proficient.
And is that measured by academics then too? So like the state testing, the way I understood it was that they still have to test in English, they don't get any translator, nothing like that.
It depends on the tests.
Okay, and so when they test out, are we still being able to measure their academics? Like what they've actually learned, like they learned how to do their ABCs or they've learned?
We have a lot of data. Yes. All of these different ways.
And one more thing, I know you've stated some obvious challenges, but is there anything you have not spoken to in your presentation that you consider a challenge that we still need to meet here?
This is the tough one, to be honest. In the 3 years that I've been here, just going over what it looks like to modify, and especially not this school year, but the year before, we got a large influx. There was this war in Russia, Ukraine, so for different reasons, we received, I think, about 60 newcomers. And that was really a jolt to our system as a school community. And so teachers were like, kind of stressed, because they cares, right? But they were spending extra time translating. They were doing what they thought was best practice. That is the #1 challenge I see. I'm only here, I've been here 2 days a week, and the teachers want information, and I want to get it to them, but really sharing like a list of best practices. This is how you modify. This is what it looks like in practice. It's not super intimidating, but there are things that you just need to be reminded of to more, or maybe to do for the first time, like choosing 5 to 7 key vocabulary words and introducing them at the beginning of a lesson with images. People don't always do that, but it has a huge impact on the entire classroom. So details like that will just benefit us overall as a community. But if everyone kind of understand what that looks like, now we're on to something. Now we're really leveling up.
And is that what you do as a coordinator? Like, do you organize all that and put where kids work best or help like coaching the teachers type of thing? Is that all?
All of those things. I love to do professional development, so I've done a couple of those. And then, yes, helping with scheduling. I mean, we do so many things, the family engagement events. I do work with individual students on occasion, or go into classrooms. EL coordinator keeps track of data, and testing. It's a lot of things.
So if you were here 5 days a week, you would be getting the load.
Yes. This district needs 5 days a week coordinators, yes. For example, I mentioned Kettering, they have fewer students than we do, they're considered EL, and they have a full-time coordinator who's always busy. Oh my goodness, yes. But then they're able to plan around, like celebrations, and we just can get to and provide more support. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the
Yes, thank you.
information.
Thanks, Claire, appreciate it.
Now we're on to unfinished business, right?
Yes, last month, we had some questions about workers' comp and who qualifies for wage continuation or use of sick leave. And without going into specific details for employees, which I don't like to do in public, I just wanted to sort of cover policy. So there was a question about how to report the or being asked to report the injury online. We use Public School Works for testing. As well as for employee reporting. It helps us when there's an injury. So it's what's called an FROI, or first report of injury. So all employees should be able to go out to the website, just type in employee accident and fill that form out online, so that it alerts us that there's been an accident, that we need to be aware of something coming along. I think in this situation that did not happen. It was a paper form. And it didn't happen until the individual went to the, to get care, which is fine. It just didn't, just a little different than what we're used to. Let's see if I can get this name. Board policy 8841, 8842.01, outlines what is wage continuation and when it will cease. Wage continuation, the Bureau of Workers' Comp for the state of Ohio, you're not eligible until you've had over 8 absences. You have to be out due to the injury for at least 8 days, which means that you're not even eligible until day 9. And the case in particular that we're looking at, there were some calamity days that didn't count because you weren't required to work. I think there were 2 in this situation. And then, so it didn't really get to the 8 days. So in addition to that, if it did, it was like 8.5, if memory serves. In addition to that, if you're released to return to work on restricted duty, which just means you can't do your full job, but you could come in and help with clerical assignments or answer the phone or do any of that, then you're no longer eligible for work, wage continuation. You have to come back to work and take a position that we can make available to you to help with secretarial, clerical, anything that is within your restrictions. That didn't happen here. So this person was eligible to come back to work. I don't know what the confusion was, but they didn't report back for restricted duty. So they were given the opportunity to use their sick leave if they wanted to, even though they were able to return to work per the Bureau of Workers' Comp's, per the physician and the Bureau of Workers' Comp's paperwork. So yes, you're eligible, but only if those kind of conditions are met. And that's why in this case, the person was asked to fill out for sick leave. I think that covered all their questions, but if they have more, I'd be happy to discuss that with them, as I did their supervisors back in January. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next is public participation. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask, is there, is this in like new employees training? Anybody who comes on board would know that that process exists? I mean, to start with the accident form.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's part of public school works training. I know that transportation gets a whole day or some part of their day to do public school work training. Some of it, you do it so often, I can't recall what every little thing in there is, but I will check. Yeah, so it is something that we've had a lot of turnover as far as supervisors are concerned as well. So it is something that we're gonna have to go through as far as, working on everyone being aware of what the process is. So no, I don't think so right at the moment, but something we're definitely gonna need to work on in the future.
And where is that link on? Is that online somewhere?
Yeah, it's
Or they
on the
can pull that
website. You can just do a search and just say employee accident and it'll pop right up.
up right up?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if it's, and if someone comes back on restricted duty,
Mhm.
do they get their same pay or do
Yes.
they get the restricted?
No, we're not allowed to reduce their pay in any way. So they would be back on restricted duty, working, getting the same hourly rate they would for, driving a bus, if that's the case. And then, once they're released to go back on the bus, then they go back on the bus. Workers' comp doesn't allow you to reduce their wages. You just have to work the same number of hours you would in restricted duty.
So how do they find out about the restricted duty? Do they get paperwork from the doctor or? does
They
it come-
actually, the employee actually gets more paperwork than we do, right? And so it's supposed to be updated in kiosks, everyone, all the employees should know. And maybe it's something we need to touch on in training further, that once you are out for any reason, you need to enter your leave in kiosks. So we're aware of where you're at, right? Or, because if you don't enter absence, I'll assume you're at work, right? And so there was an email sent out later, I think, later in January after this particular absence to say, hey, is this person working? Because nothing was in the kiosk, right? Even if it's other, even if you're on work continuation, even if, but something, and we didn't have any notification and, we can't tell from in our offices if people are reporting to work. So we have to ask those questions. So yeah, there's no, reduction in pay. They get the paperwork that says you should review or are allowed to return to work before I do. Because it goes through what we call a TPA or a third party administrator. They look over it, then they send it to me. And so there's some loopholes that I have to jump through, but the employee gets a copy of those. Yes. Thank you.
Next we have public participation. Do we?
I didn't have any forms, nope.
Okay, no. This is- Right? Any other report?
Sorry, here we go, let's keep track of our tab. So we're balanced for the month of February, which is always great. Balanced on the first of the month, which is always my goal, if it's a work day, so I was very excited. As I explained, during the work session, if you look at the cash summary report, when you look at fund balance or current fund balance, not the balance after encumbrances, but the current fund balance, this number right here should always match. Oops, now I've got them all highlighted, but this number right here should always match what's on the bank rack. Okay, that's why I give you that information. In addition, it shows all our little funds because we have separate funds for everything in school finance. So you can see where our balances are. Anytime that we have a credit balance or a negative amount in our fund, if it's a 500 account, which is a federal grant, it's because we seek reimbursement after we spend, because federal grants, you have to spend that money within, I think it's 5 days. So we don't want to have it unless we can spend it within 5 days because we get in trouble for that. So, Let's go. So as far as the general fund report goes, we're looking pretty good. We went through this a little bit during the work session, so unless anybody has additional questions, we're actually looking really good for the month of February, because we're always a month behind. And we're actually to the good by about $2 million compared to where we were last year. So that's always good. The bulk of that in revenue is going to be on the state side, because we saw pretty much a big increase on state funding with the new Fair School Funding Act. So we definitely hope they keep that in place, because that does us a world of good, because we did see a reduction in our income taxes. So the more money we can bring in, the better. So, and as far as our revenue snapshot, as you can see now, our highest revenue source is ODE. It used to be real estate, and it used to be on the community that provided the bulk of our revenue, but now it is on ODE as far. We did get our final payment on real estate in March. So when I do the March report in April, we'll see where we're at. We haven't gotten homestead or rollback money from the state. That typically happens in April, but that's the only one we'll be waiting on. Our interest earnings are up 25,000. Poverty funding from ODE, which is now called DEW, is up 222% or 36,000. On our expense snapshot, of course, our largest expense is going to be salaries, then followed by benefits and purchase services. As this purchase service is pretty high, because we still have a lot, I think about 1.5 or 1.8 million that is purchase service through Miami County ESC. And as we move towards having some of those services in-house, we'll see that those numbers shift a little bit.
And during the work session, we had mentioned doing a cost benefit analysis, is that right? So is that something you guys would do in-house?
Yeah, I can do that. So we're trending higher versus last year in salary and benefits. Both salaries and benefits are coming in better than forecasted currently, but it is higher than we were last year. And as I said, instructional services through the ESC is the main driver, and our purchase services being higher. And we also renewed our Google student licenses, which was over $8,000 for February. But overall, our current cash balance in general fund is $7.5 million, and that is 138 days of cash on hand. And our board policy requires that we have at least 60 days, so we're double that right now. So that's always good. Cash flow gets scary when you don't have enough to meet your expenses, but we're doing pretty good right now. So I'm pretty happy. As far as our construction analysis, or what's in our funds 070, we currently have $935,000 available. And our pilot program, our payments in lieu of taxes or TIF money, we actually got more money than expected. I was anticipating a little over 2.9 million, and we got like 3.4 or 3.3. So I'm looking at that and seeing what we can do to help with the cost of the bleachers and other things that weren't included in the project. So
That's what I was gonna ask. So will the bleacher money come out of this account?
we can do that.
And the fencing too, like the fencing?
Well, we'll have to take a look and see what we have available, because we still have quite a few encumbrances or purchase orders out there for the building project. So as we get all that done and get everything released in the punch list, then we're getting some of that money back, which was contingency. So we're gonna take a look at all of that and see what we can cover.
So that's not true, but it says cash available.
That's what we have currently, right? So once they release everything, we'll have more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any questions about the financial report?
Now, are you gonna bring up the checklist?
That's next,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so check register.
So on page 16,
Mm-hmm.
the athletic director had a couple of different travel expenses. I was just curious, like. It had fall and winter travel, so is that for like games and stuff? Do they do overnights? Do they? What would, it was on page 16 and it was the third check down.
Let's see. Yeah, I didn't do any research on that, so let's see. Am I on page 16? I am, okay. All right, travel expenses. So he turns them in all at once. So he's got fall mileage, so that would be, yeah, August, September, October mileage that he traveled. So it could be quite a few different things, events and training and.
Conference meetings, high school meetings.
Yeah. And then that's all for fall and winter. So he turned in both quarters at the same time, he got paid. So not usually the way I like it, but.
Hey, that's pretty bold. To look at.
But yeah, so, but if he doesn't do a lot of traveling, do you want to cut a check for $6? You know,
Yeah.
so I get both sides of it. So I'd have to go back and look at what he actually submitted, but I'm assuming it's all of those.
But
things
that, I was just
for
curious,
Kristen.
like travel, but he does like travel to game, using a personal vehicle to travel to
Yes.
games and.
Yes. Mhm.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, meetings and things of that
Scouting.
nature. It's only for Mr. Smith.
Yeah, scouting.
Yeah. I'm not sure, does he go scouting? I don't think he does.
Hey,
I don't
Like
know.
high school
I'd have to ask
stuff.
him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so many questions. I had one on page 18. Middle of the, it was for the school psychologist assistant.
Mhm.
So, but I thought Ben Marlowe was our school psychologist, but do we have an assistant as well?
We did.
We do? Okay. And then that must come from the ESC, right? Yeah.
Montgomery County, yeah. Not the Miami County. We need
Oh.
both, yeah.
Okay, so it's Ben from Miami?
Ben is from Miami.
Oh,
The assistant is from Montgomery.
Okay.
Miami did.
And does he just do backfill to what Ben can't handle?
Yeah.
Like she, sorry, okay. Well, and then just on page 22. Towards the bottom, the whole list of the Miami County educational. So for the curriculum director, is that just on an as needed basis? Or is that still like? I think she's part-time. Sorry. It was for the curriculum director, Brandy Anderson, is line 2 under check
Mhm. Yeah, pretty sure that's their monthly billing.
Okay,
So they bill us per month, they give us an annual cost and then they bill us per month for their services,
so but is she on an as needed basis? Like, do we call her up and say, hey, we need some help with the,
she's here, what, 3 days?
3 days a week.
she automatically 3 days a
Yeah.
week, okay. And then I just had the question about Benjamin Berry asked.
I had a question. And I had it written down. I was going to email you and until I saw this. This sounds like fun, but could you tell me about students riding horses?
Why can't,
Which one is that?
It's on page 23, line 1 and 2. Students riding horses, and I thought, well, where are we keeping the horses? That'd be fun. I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had student riding.
Yeah,
clubs.
it's at the Camp Kern.
Was it Camp Kern?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
So that was Camp Kern services, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm
It's
like, I don't know, I didn't get the right.
I know, I was looking at it, it's like, well, keeping the horses.
we are trying to expand on our.
I know.
I don't think so. They haven't done it in the holler, yeah, we have horses and cows and all that, yeah.
I don't know.
So
I just
any
saw it and I
other
thought-
questions about the register?
No, I didn't, the years,
Okay.
anybody else have any questions?
The next item is the 2024 tax rates and amounts. This is provided by I love how it says untitled. Provided by the Miami County auditors. office. He provides estimates as far as what he feels our mills and will create in revenues. And then he asked that the board approve those and have them back to them. So this is what we currently have as far as millage, and this is the Miami County Auditor's estimates. I keep saying that because I think it brings in more, and those are their estimates, and they want that on all their reports, so I have to do what they can. So, yeah, so we need your approval, and then everybody along the bottom gets to sign. So it's a procedural kind of thing that they're required to do by Ohio Revised Code, so. Just the amended certificate, which is our revenue adjustments and our appropriations recap. And then approval of new accounts. I did add one more. We did receive notice from the Tip City Foundation that we got another grant awarded to Miss Randall.
Nice.
For Fluent Readers for the Future for 1970-10. So I wanted to get that on the board's agenda and approved as quickly as possible so we can get those monies set up to be spent. And then that's all I have for the treasurer's business.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for the treasurer's report? Anybody in a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay. Does everyone want to discuss anything? Okay, then will you take roll, please?
Sure, Mrs. Kiplinger. Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome, Mrs. Kiplinger.
All right, you can say it for me now.
Yeah.
I should apologize too. I'm
Trying
gonna-
to
your name?
get some of our prompts that
Everybody
we
hits the hard G.
get you some
You
pictures.
crossed the lines here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Getting right into the superintendent's report. We have important dates, 3 changes from when we met last. The first is we added our first day of testing, didn't add all their days of testing, it goes on throughout the month. Those dates, our entire testing calendar is on the front page of our website. So if you want to see when your kids need to get some rest and get a good meal and check that out. That's important.
Does the state tell us what dates?
They give you windows.
Oh, okay, and then we
Yeah.
can go.
The second change is Monday, April 8th. We've gone ahead and closed the district. Before that was no. We're going to have our teachers in for an educational progress day. Us along with the Career Center. Miami County Career and Technical Center. We're out there doing the same thing, and then Dr. Weldy folded, so we're folded. Yeah, we'll figure out what we're gonna do with that later, meet these two and talk about it. The third change was, the board's request was to add graduation date there. So, got that down at the bottom, separated. It's also on the district calendar, but, we're getting closer, so we'll put it out there in lots of different places.
Prom? We have a prom.
End of the April.
27th?
27th.
Okay.
There you go. And then our update on personnel does not include any action items in the next sections coming up. But that's where we're at in our personnel tracker board. And then our running enrollment for this month, we went down again. So we're down to 1974. So we'll take a breather there, but we're gonna have another large kindergarten class. It looks like I think we're at 154 right now. And yeah, and we're working through fitting everybody in a brand new K-5 building. So that's the superintendent's report for this evening, rolling right into recommendations for classified personnel. We're adding Gazelle Pashasheva to our elementary food service staff, and have also, as promised from last week, added the food service or detail for both buildings. And you can see we're still short. 2 additional substitutes, one in transportation, one in food service. A request for leave without pay from Mrs. Weber. Resignation from Mrs. Weber. Hate to see her go, but I understand she's got a large family she's got to take care of, but she's not going to be a stranger to us. She's going to sign up to be a sub, and not just probably in the clinic, but perhaps in the classroom as well. That's a classified personnel recommendations for March 2024.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for classified personnel?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, we take vote, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger? I can't do it, right here.
Yeah, yes.
Go.
Oh, I'm trying, sorry.
Thank you for your support. Going on to certificated personnel recommendations. Item A is a long-term sub, Constance Connors in high school math. We have our student teacher stipends that are due for our teachers that have hosted student teachers from college or university. There were one request for a day leave without pay and carry, and resignation for our supplemental contract for high school cheerleading. So if you're interested in being a cheer advisor, contact Mr. Smith. Those are the recommendations for a certificated person for March 2024.
Thank you. Could I get a motion? Oh, wait. Do we need a motion?
Yes,
Need a
you do.
motion for that? Can I get a motion to approve the certified personnel?
Second.
Any discussion? Comments with me? Have they posted the cheerleading?
I'd have to go.
Okay, it's not, I mean, I just don't know, because clinics should be coming up and that sort of thing.
Check it out. Yeah.
Okay.
We take vote, please.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Is it Mrs. or Ms.?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
If you can do less for it.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't know why that's not,
I'll work on it.
Okay, going on to item 10, recommendations under the category business. We have the appointment of public records designee. Item 2, and item B is WOCO service provider contract. So is our
There are current provider for internet. We did an RFP. They cost a little more, but they're familiar with the district and we'd like to continue using them. So we're asking for your approval because it exceeds our authority. It's a 3-year contract, so.
we have an extensive donation list by our very generous athletic boosters. So thank you. And then we have last month we had the reading for ORC of our, or displaying of our proposed calendar that is circulated through our district administrative team, BEA. It's been out there with staff, and seeking the board's approval for that this evening. And that
Where did I
is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I can close it. I need to go home
What's this?
already. Yeah,
Are you sure?
I did not take the med
Can you,
before the
can you
meeting.
pump it up real quick? So we did, there was just a couple
Yeah.
edits. From last month, if you could scroll down to the second page. Yeah, so it's the calculation for elementary hours, we had it at 9:58, it's 9:10. And so that. There we go. Yeah. So for folks that may have forgotten, school calendar years are now calculated by hours, not days. So it's 1,001 for the middle school and high school and 1,001 hours. Used to be 180 days. And then for the elementary, it's 910 hours. So there you have it. And then the other correction was we had August 19th and May 17th down there for staff flex days, and change that to next graduation day. Because that's one of the uses, allowed uses of flex. So that's all I have for recommendations under business.
I did have a quick question. Did, you have to swap the 31st of March for the 18th of April? Because I think on the original calendar, it said that there was no school on the 31st of March, but now it's school for the teachers. And then on the 18th of April, it looks like maybe the days were just switched.
What was the first part of your question?
Did you just switch 18 and 31 March or?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. That was,
So I
we
don't
did
think-
that with, in conjunction with EA.
Okay. Because one day was teacher school day, but then it wasn't, but then if you got further, it looks like you just swapped the two.
Yep.
So that's what it is.
I just wanted to ask, the previous, contract, how many years was that for? This one's for 3, so what was the other one for 3 also? Okay, thank you.
And you know what the increase was over the last contract?
I think overall, it's like a 4.5% on the teacher's contract. we come
On the,
WOCO.
on the.
WOCO, oh, no, I have to go back and look, I didn't get it, yeah. Yeah, I have to go back and look, I didn't this time. No, that's fine.
I was
can look.
clear and we
I'm
transitioned
like,
from
what are we
the.
talking about?
Yeah.
Great, yeah, so,
Sorry.
so it's great.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for business items?
I'll move.
I'll start, Jenny. Any more discussion? Let me take vote, please.
A second.
Me.
Okay, just making sure, I apologize. Okay, Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskovic,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler. Yes. Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Hi, I don't really have anything, is that great? Seriously, we're ready for spring break. We all are. I do want to comment that there are 9 high school seniors that have been in that cafeteria all day working the polls.
Oh,
All day. Mrs. Porto helped set it up and, I will provide a list to the board when I get it. But yeah, all day. I mean, they got a half hour for lunch. So kudos to them. But yeah, we're ready for spring break, right?
Oh, yeah, man. So we're doing.
Yes.
It's freezing.
Okay, item B is what I'd mentioned at the start of the meeting, that if the board pleases, I'd like to pull that out and get a motion to approve us to put this request for proposal out for the stadium bleachers on the visitor side. And I think we all know that the stadium project, even though the construction project was one bucket, there was money set aside for the stadium, and as expenses grew, that side of the project got less. And I think there were some expectations, probably unreasonable expectations to probably placed on our athletic boosters, to think that, you know, we're going to expect them to raise those kind of funds to do that, as well as the field house. And now that we're starting to get some of the pledge money in, we will get some of that money from the boosters, probably 30 or 40,000. Bleachers will probably be anywhere from, I think last May when we received quotes, I think around 92,000. So just to help us move along, and so we don't have to rent bleachers. We can try to push this project along and get that thing closed out.
You're authorizing us to go ahead and put out the RFP, which is a request for proposal. Then we'll have an opening, and then we'll open all the bids, and then we'll bring it back to the board to approve whatever contractor does.
And the RFP that we built that and created that in conjunction with one of the attorneys we use at Eunice Britton. So they did all the legalese. We provide them the specs, with the pads out there, and what Garmin Miller had suggested for us to put as far as seating wise. So combined effort with the legalese is all their stuff. Yeah.
Can we go ahead and do it? Or can we have to go through-
So you can make a motion if you.
Can I get a motion to approve the RFP for the bleachers?
I'll make the motion to approve the RFP bid for the new visitor stadium bleachers.
I'll second it.
Everybody's looking at me.
Any more questions, comments, concerns, discussion? All right, read it roll, please.
Mrs. Kiplinger? Yes. Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
We need more voting on it. I'm just it's expelling our.
Yeah, look at you just do one.
Facilities committee report. We met with Jeremy Meyer from Peterson Construction last Wednesday, and selected wood to match the wood framing around the glass display cases right there in the front entrance. The green laminate is just not working with elementary kids. They sit down and they find that one spot that's not that, yep, click, and so we're gonna take all that out, and they presented a plan. We picked out matching wood, and that will go in over spring break. So that was probably the best fix, instead of where the back of the kids' knees are and where their hands go. Generally, there's going to be like a bull nose that covers, so there's not going to be that edge, that natural edge. It's going to be 8 inches down, actually. So
Are we concerned because you're gonna live? Or they're-
I wanted to do concrete, but I got shut down because they started to tell me, you know, to support that kind of slab there, you know, I thought would have been great. Looked cool with our green. But we're going with a hardwood, and very few seams, and we're not gonna have to caulk either. We're gonna use molding around the edges, and yeah. Good thing with wood, we chose to go with wood, not laminate, in case we get a knucklehead that decides to, you know, heart mom in the we can sand it out.
You just have to.
Yeah.
Brisk
sand
wood.
down. Yeah,
Keep me away from it.
so laminate, we probably wouldn't be able to
You
do
didn't
that,
know.
just be
That's a good
try to
idea.
replace it, so. That and, working on an advertisement put out and, to see if we can get some volunteers to join the, new committee, so. I'll share that with the board and make sure it says what I think it needs to say and then we'll get it out. Yeah. That's it for facilities committee. Liaison reports.
Anyone first?
Have fun. You're gonna regret giving me student activity because there's a lot of them. So here's this month's information. I want to start off by saying the art students are planning a trip to Europe next summer, 2026. There's an informational meeting tomorrow night at 6. Mrs. Powell has information about that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you want to make sure you get in on the start, because I'm sure there's a lot of money to be raised for that. High School Musical, April 12th through the 14th. It's Mamma Mia, and they're already working on the set, and you know, they're always outstanding performances, so you don't want to make sure you pick up at least one. Let's see, Bethel Green Team took a trip to the hydro growers to check out their hydroponic farm, which sounds kind of cool. I'd like to go see that. Power of the Pen, this is super cool. They had the regional writing contest at Wittenberg University on March 2nd, and we had 3 students qualified to move on. We had 8th graders Anna Williams and Emma Berberich for 8th grade, and 7th grade Claire Mullins. Congratulations, they're moving on up. And that's super cool. I think that's really outstanding. Congratulations to them. STEM Club. Remember, they're preparing for their Extreme Bots competition on the 23rd at Clark County Fairgrounds. There is no cost to attend this, so you have no excuse not to go watch the battle bots. And they're accepting donations. The doors will open at 8. Competition begins at 9. Spring sports start pretty soon. Opening day is March 23rd for all of them. Our baseball team is headed to Florida. On the 24th, the varsity is going to play 5 games. The JV will play 4 games. Their first home game will be Tuesday, April 2nd versus Lehman Catholic. So that'll be down at Frosty Brown Field. Do they still call it that? Yes. That's what varsity softball begins on the 23rd, and their first game is actually on the 23rd, but it's at Northeastern. But our first home game is the 25th versus Tecumseh right here at the Hive. A high school track also starts on the 25th. They're away at Arcanum, but our first home quad meet here at Bethel in our new stadium, Go Bees, will be the 25th, and it's a quad meet. So you want to make sure you're on tap there to make history. Middle school track gets to open up on the 25th of April at 4:30. We have some recap to our middle school indoor track. They attended the state meet on March 9th, and we had some great showings. We had a 6, let's see, Andrew Dirks came in 8th on the 1600. Let's see, the 60-meter hurdles, Oliver Dick finished 6th. The 400-meter event, which was an indoor school record, Colin Furstenberger was finished 6th, and Oliver finished 13th. The 800 event, Andrew Dirks was 5th, Michael Trussell was 16th, and our 4x400 team, another school, middle school indoor track record, Oliver Dick, Andrew Dirks, Colin Furstenberger, and Michael Trussell, and they had a 4th place finish. So they had a really great season, and that's what we have for this month. That's not everything. That's just an answer.
I get it to be your notes.
What days did you have down for the quad?
The varsity is 25th is middle school, and the varsity is a different date. A different date, not the 25th. I think the 2nd.
Oh, yeah, April 2nd.
April 2nd, yeah.
History.
History making.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
We're not.
Thank you so much, but I don't know shorthand anymore.
Thank you for the great lead in. From the Miami Valley CTC, there is, some good news. The state FAA decree, which is the highest degree the state FAA association can bestow on a member, was awarded to one Bethel student, Garrett Vetgater. Sorry. A senior in natural resources management. And that means that he has met the minimum requirements set forth by the Ohio FFA Association and the National FFA Association. And the golden charm that these students receive is the symbol of growth and development in the member's chosen occupation. So we want to congratulate him for achieving that. Other notes, Ms. Wiedemann indicated there are 69 Bethel juniors who have applied for CTC for next year. And admission decisions will be released by the end of the day, Thursday, March 21st. So those students will definitely be on the lookout for that, I'm sure. Just a couple other notes, the CTC prom will be held Saturday, April 6th. And then the CTC will also, as Mr. Crispin already stated, will be closed for total solar eclipse day on April 8th. That's all I had to share this time, but thank you.
Thank you. And then we just need the OSBA legislative liaison update, which I looked through some of the emails I get and there wasn't anything new out there, but we are looking for a new liaison. If anybody would be interested.
Here's the new person.
Yeah, a new member would be interested in taking this on, so we can appoint somebody.
That's fine, I'll do that.
Yes, thank you. All right, Matt.
Okay, we're on to new positions, our favorite topic here. Yeah, it's like, just wanted to bring it, put it in front and see if we can make any movement towards getting some of these, getting your blessings, so we can put these out and continue to support great programming and great teachers that we have here at the local schools.
Where are we at? Oh, yeah, the EL coordinator. So that's, do you guys want to discuss that since we had a briefing today? You want to discuss any more about that position? Or do you want to?
I thought we were pretty much set on all of them except like the admin positions. I think we're still arm wrestling on that one, but I thought everything from the intervention, mathematics, reading specialist, teachers in school, I thought those were all yes. Or am I?
Well, if you
Or
look
did
at
I dream?
the right, far right hand column,
Okay,
there's a date there
yep,
that's been posted.
okay,
We're out in the market, actually, we're interviewing folks already
nice.
for those
Good.
positions. So,
Okay, seriously, open too.
yeah, that's gonna be probably realistically talking to Captain McGlinch, it's probably a 4 to 6 month process. Getting a new officer, there's lots of training, lots of shadowing's not the right. But they have to be with an officer for several months on the beat and before they're released. And be up there. So realistically, I think we were hoping maybe by Thanksgiving. We would be ready to go.
And so would Liz go over to elementary or is that too?
We're gonna have a cage match.
I know everybody's fighting.
Yeah, everybody's fighting for Liz. Yeah, so we've had really depends on who that other person is. Liz can fit in, she knows us. You know, one way we're looking at it is, we have a new building, so somebody that has experience would be, her experience as being an SRO, and being over there, especially as we do drills. Be nice to have her expertise there, and, then she can kind of coach up that person here. But she also has a lot of great relationships built here, and, you know, it takes a, you know, certain kind of person to de-escalate, you know, an adolescent, teenager, that type of thing, and she's pretty good at that. So we'll see. It'll really depend on who the second person is they bring to the table.
I had a question in general.
Yes.
I know these have been posted, but I also know we didn't officially approve them as a board with a vote. Are we doing everything legitimately? I mean,
We haven't posted any of if there's a blank on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
We haven't posted that.
correct,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about the other ones.
The others,
The ones that do say posted in February,
yeah,
those are the ones I just want to make sure we doing this legitimately and in the correct process.
so, technically, unless there's something hidden in board policy, don't need board approval for positions, to post those. Knowing that these are, all of them were a big ask. We just brought them all forward. But there was consensus around the table when, for all of those positions, and that's why I felt comfortable going ahead and posting those.
I just
So,
wanted to make
yeah,
sure of that.
Yeah, unless there's, something special in our policy, which we have a few of those, but I'm not aware of it, that we can do that without board. We're not gonna, go down that road if we're gonna hit a wall here.
And I do recognize that when you bring forth a name to us, we will have that opportunity to approve and everything. But I just wanted to make sure that the front part of the process was legitimate.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Crispin's taking an extra step that's not required by revised code or policy to ask in advance for those positions, so that everybody's on the same page.
Right.
Yes, so you don't usually, as he said, approve a position. It's an additional step that we're asking, because he realizes these are a lot of positions to get us caught up. And so the board is required to approve hiring of specific individuals. So yeah, you're okay. You're doing it okay. You're actually going above and beyond.
And when we had that conversation about all the teachers, we were all on board with all the teaching. And then we also had discussed the ELL coordinator, and we discussed the transportation coordinator, and then the reading curriculum director had come up, and that's not. Those were other ones that were included in the original conversation with the teaching stuff. And then we said we come back to the administrative stuff, because we're still not there yet.
The ELL coordinator is Claire would go away and then we'd have a full 5-day, or does Claire stay in addition to the ELL?
We would post it, and she'd be more than welcome to apply. I don't know what her, what kind of agreement she's in with Montgomery County. So,
But it'd be a full.
yes.
But I think she was saying the ESC portion of that would then go away.
Or
Is that-
a grant, right?
I think so.
They have
I
the
think
Montgomery County,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if it's a full or in they're supplementing with other funds, and I don't know the particular. Good part of it is, so, the question is, we'd have a full-time person plus for 2 days a week.
Right.
Sorry, I misunderstood
Yeah.
that. we may.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I see our,
I think we may have one more year, because that's funded by a grant.
Right.
Yeah.
because I was just looking at the funding here and I didn't know if Claire came out of that funding as well as.
No, the Montgomery County ESC had a separate grant that they received.
So we actually have two people so it says oversee the EL department, 6 certified, 3 classified. So we actually have 2 people doing that job then? Like I'm thinking a full-time person. EL coordinator person. But you're saying we have to hold on to the ES?
Only if they still have that grant, if they still have that grant, because I
I
wasn't.
think it's.
If it's one more year, then we'd have Claire, but it's no cost to the district, it's the
Right.
grant that the Montgomery County ESC wrote. Which would be great, because it would help the full-time person transition a little better, in my opinion, but it wouldn't be any cost to us for that year. If we don't have a cost this year.
Yeah, that would be nice to have that,
Overlap.
that connection between Claire and the new.
And is that something that like she'd be okay with kind of pretty much transitioning and helping the new person assume the new role?
Oh, I think she, that's, yeah, that's what she does.
What are you guys thinking about the EL coordinator?
Definitely,
I'm gonna do.
especially after a presentation.
And
We've
while,
got momentum right now.
and then that SIAP will be another conversation probably on our next agenda, right? That's how that would work.
Yeah, we're planning to do that training. I have the quotes and fits within our, is it Title III funds? And so we're covered there. It's trying to figure out the science of reading training at the beginning of the year and how we can do those together, because they're both big trainings. Plus we have some folks that we have to get on board with dyslexia as well. So our eyes are already silent. Yeah.
And I saw it was like 3 different tools, right? We do the full blown.
I think it was the middle. The middle.
Is that cost reasons or is,
That was Claire's recommendation.
oh, okay.
Especially if you have all that other training to do.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But as you know, she pointed out, a lot of it's just best practices teaching. See words up there like scaffolding, small
Yeah.
group. We're doing those things. Those are just good. They're best practices that she did last year. So.
So on the EL coordinator, it says admin or certified. Would there be, what's the qualification for that type of role?
Yeah, so for that, again, we had posted for that position this summer. They're just, those aren't folks that are growing in trees like pre-K 3 folks. So we listed it as admin or certificated. So with no preference as far as having an administrator license or not. Ideally, would we like to? Yeah, it'd be nice, but we're gonna find somebody with TESOL certification and principal's license. Probably not, but we would write it as such. We'd be able to do that. Second reason it's a either or is we may have folks on staff that are interested in leading that group.
I guess I'm not sure why it would need to be an administrator.
There's just, it's not a clear, we can slice it either way. We just need somebody, again, almost like a department chair. To be over there, be very similar. So. But it could be a lot bigger, as you heard Claire speak to the Kettering. Bigger district, smaller number of kids, a full-time person, it's very busy. But we could say that all of them as well. So.
We get the coordinator.
Can you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see, I'm sure that would need to be in the straight position.
What would, I guess, what would be the difference between if you call it administrative or if you call it certified?
Is it just a wider net?
Well, yeah, so if you have an administrator, you can include that person in evaluating staff. Because we have classified and certificated staff working for us in that area. Can hand over more of the budgeting, purchasing resources, and not be held to that the master agreement time slot. So just gives that person freedom to no offense, union members, but watch the clock and do evening events and those types of things.
So if it was a certificate, then they could not do that. Is that what you're saying?
They could do it if they wanted to, but they'd be working outside the
But
contract.
but
Yeah.
they'd be
Yeah.
within the negotiated agreement.
Yeah.
So it's more like salary versus.
Yeah.
Negotiated agreement.
Yeah. Kind of like we talked about, the dean of students that was a teacher on special assignment. A person's gonna do teacher hours, discipline, attendance, but supervision at a dance, no. Or anything like that, that's, the day stops, so. But it can still help the cause if that's where we go.
Right. I'd still like to get that position going between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing the SIAP, doing the dyslexia, doing the science of reading, there's gonna be a lot.
The
not to
testing.
mention- Yeah, not to mention plus like the SIAP benefits everybody, so our concern has always been too with the struggling kids as well. And I think this is another one where I would want to wait personally. I would like to get going on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you guys?
Well, yeah, from her presentation, it sounds like
Mhm.
something that's definitely needed.
So I guess, so that's it, right? We're all in agreement
Just
on.
all give me a thumbs up, I get 5.
Go find an EL coordinator.
How about transportation supervisor? We'll start calling them out.
Oh, there was a good article,
Yeah,
the
and the journal.
journal.
OSBA put
I
out.
have a question about that. So we hired somebody not that long ago, and that was part of their title. So I'm curious as to what happened to that person.
We could do an executive session after this if you wanted to answer that question, I think, right? I mean, I would.
You can have an executive session to discuss
personnel.
personnel if you like, yes.
I mean, it's never been that much different.
We do, and that person's the middle school principal.
No longer with duties of transportation.
Still has those duties, still has that title.
We have a person, I don't know.
But that position can be doing.
I understand that. I understand that maybe there needs to be something else, but
We definitely need something.
Yes,
Transportation needs something.
it's too big,
Yes.
it's getting bigger.
And she needs help.
so what would that person look like?
We can send you the job description. We have a
I mean,
job
you can't find
description.
it in the job description?
No, it's like 2 or 3 pages. But basically, it's. They're over, they supervise the drivers, they're. The operations, the maintenance, the mechanic, the assistant supervisor. That person's in charge of. If you. Let's see, when did we give out the, we looked at 20 similar districts like Bethel. All of them have a transportation supervisor. And other various support personnel, administrative personnel. So really not an unusual ask for a district this size. Most of them have an assistant or and/or secretary.
I don't agree that there's a need for something, especially if the person that's supposed to be doing it isn't. But I guess my concern is I wouldn't want to just jump into it without more information. Into what the qualifications are, you know, is that something that someone in-house would want to or be able to do, you know, to elevate their position? You know, so just, I think I would just have a lot of questions, about that job description and, because right now, again, it's administrative, the cost of $100,000.
Well, you said that with them, that's right. Yeah. So would that equate to like a $75,000 position?
I'd have to go look at in your Board of Education folder. Under personnel, or you have a list of all the salary ranges for those positions.
But I thought we
Who
had,
sets those rates?
It was board approved. So, yeah.
The board set that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you guys put the 3D
We put
descriptions
it,
in
yeah, we put it in that.
I
thought we put it in
it's in
shared
here.
folder.
But the duty
Let me
description.
share it with you.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think it's 33 pages long.
Page 21.
Wayne, to,
Are you talking about the salary schedule?
No, I don't have the
Job descriptions, yeah, I'm like, oh, I didn't think they were that long.
She's got 17.
and I know Mrs. Kiplinger will have to have an opportunity to look at these job descriptions that are in our shared folder.
Right.
Yeah, so transportation supervisors range is 75 to 260 day contract.
For me to get it.
Oh,
See what I
I
mean?
just sent it to you. I'll just share it with you.
Okay, let me,
Yeah, it's not me that signed on, it's just under the Board of Education, so.
oh, I thought you could bring it up.
Yeah.
Did you just email to you? You can, oh, you can't.
I did, we can't.
Yeah, it's not mine. I wish I could.
But and then last time too, that we had asked if we can modify some of those job descriptions as well and tailor it to.
I talked to Julie Reese and she thought that that was something that the board could do, because they would spot those.
It's $100 if you change it.
Why?
Because it has copyright on it. So it's still,
That they bought.
but if we altered it, we're altering the product that we purchased. And so the copyright doesn't go with it.
So we can make a new one.
That's what I was gonna ask. Can we just write it?
We can. Who's gonna do that?
We can do it.
Oh,
I mean, I would
there's an assistant too.
I mean, if they're not adequate, then it's silly to try to use them. And I think we need to make them be what we need.
Right, tailor to, yeah, I agree.
But inadequate as compared to what?
I'm just saying, that's why, when somebody says, can we modify them? That,
Yeah, I-
could maybe if they need modified, then they're not actually.
Yeah, I haven't said they need modified.
Well, I made the comment, I think that, last, week in the workshop session that maybe some of them could be tailored. Or I asked, could they be tailored for more specific texts to be included. Because some of them are a little fluffy, you know, they're
They're
fairly
gray.
general,
They're gray.
yeah.
I think they're meant to be gray,
Generic, I
so.
thought they were very generic when they got.
Now, I will say in general, normally job descriptions are, I never had one that actually mirrored what they could have did. No, but
Neither, yeah, anything financial.
I've never, yeah.
It's
and
always
yeah,
been line other
really,
duties
And
as
other
assigned.
duties as
Yes.
assigned, right, because you don't wanna sort of pigeonhole yourself to only these things, and then if you, something new
Yeah.
comes up, you can't say, oh, that's
Right.
your job, you know, so.
I'd like to see that agreement that says we're gonna get a fine. on it. So,
See the agreement?
whatever, wherever it says that we're gonna get a fine.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and, no, I wasn't.
I mean, I'd like to see that in writing before I just put it as. Not that I'm saying it's not true, but I
No,
don't know
they
if
did
I
it
wanna
to
see
us
it.
last year when we were modifying something and we got a bill for it.
How did they know?
How did they know?
Yeah.
Because they have the Word document, if you will, so they sent us a PDF. And we weren't editing the PDF. So we were saying, we need these changes, we need this added here. And that's how we. So, plus it's the right thing to do, it's a copyrighted
No, I agree.
document, so.
I don't mean it that way, but I'm just saying that,
So we asked them to modify it, is that what you're saying? Tell me understand.
Yeah, I think it was like, it might have been like either the dean of students. It was one of those. Well, maybe last year, it might have been the transportation supervisor, but it was one of them. We were like, well, we needed to say this.
So we were asking for changes.
Correct. We could have added it. They wouldn't let us add it. It's their document. They get to add it and then charge us. It's almost, it's kind of like Neola. There are only so many changes they're gonna let you do before they say, "Shh, that's not our product. And we're not gonna back it."
and I think of it as a standard, a starting place, like the foundation, and then you can build upon it.
That would be nice.
You don't have
I don't
to
think it was
plagiarize
purchased
to
as
do
that.
that.
Yeah, I don't think it was purchased as that, but we'll see if we can find an agreement. But, again, you heard from, Claire this evening, shared a couple anecdotals, very clear, we need more. I could share anecdotals at the elementary, the high school, that would demonstrate the need for, an additional administrator and counseling. I've showed you data. So I guess, but we're hesitant on those positions. So I need to understand what seems like a kind of a moving target. That's not saying we don't need it. It's on my list, but so we just need somebody to show up and say, we're too busy, we can't get to everything, we need a position, then board's gonna give me the thumbs up, or what? What is it?
I know last week in the workshop, I kind of wanted to hear from the ones that were on the list. And I know some others got added, so that's good. I personally just wanted to hear some things from them as well. So that we can have the chance to ask questions also.
I think some of the positions seem redundant.
I'm sorry.
I think some of the positions seem redundant in that having an assistant principal and a queen of students, why wouldn't it be four?
So that was put on there as an option. Ideally, I'd prefer high school principal, assistant principal to assist with the number of evaluations that's being done by just one person. But if, we're not gonna go there this year, my fallback would be, would you consider dean of students? So that's why they're both on there.
Well, and I did have a question on being a student, so would they focus more so on the discipline? Because from what I remember from the duty description, it seemed like a lot of it was truancy related and not as much discipline related. But if we're going off of just a generic job description, but then some either tailor it or what we gotta do, but would that dean of students focus more on discipline? And would that person have the authority to implement the discipline rather than, or would the principal still have the ultimate say whether or not some sort of discipline action is going?
So in the model, when you have, so they do both, do attendance, kids that are in trouble for attendance, cutting class, those types of things. That person, as far as the discipline side of things, your dean of students is going to handle somebody's misbehaving in class, gets sent to the office. Referrals coming out, anything that's a detention, lunch detention, up to a suspension. Administrator has to do, it's the only one that can assign suspension. So to answer your question, long-winded answer, suspensions go to the principal. Ideally, like your dean of students, they can as much of the low-level stuff as possible. So you're not in a meeting and there's been a fight, there's since, now you have to come out and I've always said for a long time, back when I was in high school, assistant principal and principal, teachers should all get the chance to spend 2 or 3 weeks in the office. Because you start with the to-do list as an administrator, this is what I gotta get done today. Then there's a fight. Well, depending on what kind of fight, that can take you a couple days. Now your to-do list is just grown by 3 days. And it's a heck of a thing. So it's a very fluid dealing with discipline and especially discipline stuff.
Our attendance, I mean, is our attendance that pervasive that it's going to be taking a lot of his or her time?
Well, we have kids that are chronically to us,
Well, yeah,
chronically absent.
HB 410, you
Yeah,
gotta hit the
yeah.
thresholds
Yes.
and do the meetings.
So we
and
have that
such,
piece,
but-
it's just, again, you had one high school principal when that high school was what, a couple hundred kids? Now we're 500, and again, you've got almost 100 that go out to the career center.
You got
That's
some
gonna-
even for
that's gonna-
CPP,
It's gonna grow again,
right?
so it's getting, we're feeling it.
Yeah.
Our principals feeling it with that growth. Because now you increase the number of kids that be truant, get in trouble, the whole bit.
And
It's just capacity.
And the dean of students would only do the high school then, because we have an assistant principal in the middle
Right.
school who's doing the
Yeah.
distance. And then we also discussed, would the dean of students override the need for an in-school suspension monitor then? And with that in-school,
Mhm.
no,
We'd still need a monitor. Yeah,
Your
you're right,
students
you know,
has to
student
feel
can't
good.
sit in ISS.
Be able to get up and
Oh.
go, get a kid or.
and so the in-school suspension monitor would be in the ISS all day, making sure they're doing their homework and.
Dean of students would oversee the lunchroom. Is that what?
Would help, yeah.
In both lunchrooms? Or well, both high school and middle school lunches, or would the dean of students just strictly stay in the high school? That's it?
Ideally, yes.
We're looking at in-school suspension monitor. What? How does that happen currently?
We don't have it. So, it's run out of giving kids detention, the next thing is suspension. Have them in between. Can we keep them here?
How many kids? Like percentage wise? Are we suspending?
Enough that, it, you know, it would be good to have it here. I can get that data for you.
Also, we would rather not make that leap, right? From detention to suspension.
Yeah, I think that was a campaign thing. at one point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Was
we want progressive.
we don't want that big leap, so
Right.
they added it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's
Yeah.
great, they hate it.
I've had it.
Yes.
They have-
Well, it all
It'll
depends on,
be fun.
all
but-
depends on who you have in charge of.
Yeah, but we'll get someone that they'll hate it, and so then they'll behave, and they won't go. And in high school, being suspended is like a bonus, it's not like a punishment.
No, because they surf on their phones, they send
Because,
emails to their friends, chat with
you
their friends
know,
in school.
It's like taking a picture of themselves going through Starbucks to send to their friends and, you know, history. It's great, look at me, you know? But if you're sitting in a locked, you know, in a classroom with no phone, having to do all your homework because it's carted into, it's a deterrent. It helps.
Okay, so
So in-school suspension would be for both middle school and high school, and then where would that be at? Where would that be located?
You guys have some place that they've got a couple different configurations for it, but I think it was gonna be, the last time I spoke to them about it, last week, they were thinking, it used to be the 4th grade hall. Where Mrs. Little is, right? It's kind of out of the way, on its own, has access to a bathroom, it's isolated.
So floated.
So,
Okay, so it'd be a good, and then would the lunches be brought into them?
that's one way to do it, also, you just have them go in between times, that way, see the friends and that kind of thing.
It's so pleasant.
Who would oversee to ensure that they're there? Is that on the responsibility of the monitor or that?
So that's communicated from the office to the in-school suspension person. Here's your roster, and then they would communicate with the dean,
Mhm.
most likely, that, hey, this so-and-so didn't show up. And then you're looking at now we're going to suspension.
What other duties could this person do if they don't have students?
Boy, lunch duty all day. There could be other things, but I think that's probably a rarity that we don't have. Yeah, I don't know that we've had it here.
Well, we did
We
at
had
one
it-
time, they had it in my back room.
I mean, it was
They used to take stuff apart
What's
with
it
a dime.
usually.
Sometimes.
They would sub.
Yeah, so that subbing is a great,
Yeah.
always in need of folks to sub,
It says
but
it's a classified. Yeah, they can get a sub license.
still get a sub license, yeah. But, again, we've
Yeah.
grown probably since then. How many years ago was that?
Eons.
250, 300 students in the high school, and you're over 500.
And we could put this in place by, when the kids go back to school, right?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
up and running by then.
He's so happy.
We have it mapped out, so.
I'm good with
Yeah.
in-school suspension. Can you figure on that?
Which one?
In-school
suspension
suspension
monitor, I guess. I'm good. Yeah.
Other thumbs up?
look at us.
Yes.
Start with all now down to 10.
Yeah.
Again, is there a job description for that one? I didn't look for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
We probably hire it under our, again, the aid job description is pretty all encompassing. And so we already have a couple positions that are under that. So I'll take a look at it.
And so, I don't know.
Right, I'd rather not have to buy,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we could write if we had to. I mean,
yeah.
just whatever you
Yeah.
need. And
could Probably pick and choose.
But then, so this might be a little bit off track, but so that person, any person gets hired. And then do they sit down and like have initial feedback, let's say the principal, and the principal would outline, okay, these are going to be your duties and these are what I need you to do that's around that duty description. So the duty description will be in general of what that person's responsible for. But then they'll be ultimately given
Yeah, they're gonna have to work out the mechanics.
the
of it.
responsibilities are X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z. This is what you're gonna be evaluated on. This is what I expect. And set the expectations. There'll be more detail. So I guess so I'm just, to your point, I understand the job description. And it should be accurately reflected in what we have, but I don't know if we're gonna catch all of it. If it was more general and then we define it as they come on, I don't know if perhaps that would be
Yeah,
a way to do it.
I don't think such a strict, job description is a good idea because then it kind of locks us into, well, this is what you said I was doing. I was going to do, this is what my job was. If we have something that's directed, but maybe with a little more fluidity, then we can say, well, we're gonna have you do this and do that, and you'll still fall within those parameters without having to rewrite. Gives you some, give and take that, under this, we wanna have you pick up this. If we narrow it down too much specifically to the position, we're handcuffing ourselves because now we're gonna ask people to do things that they weren't told they were gonna be doing, and
That can get you.
that you can be in trouble. So
So if we do one,
so we can have that dialogue with someone in their selection process and in their onboarding about how we see it, and then refine it from there. And I think that's probably maybe type it up and give a copy, and we have a copy so we know where we're starting. I think if we get too much in the weeds about changing everything to make it more specific, we could in the end end up hurting ourselves.
and then that would open us up. So if they do need to go into another classroom or need to go to the lunchroom or whatever,
Yeah,
then
then they'll, you can fine tune it on your daily basis as opposed to somebody thinking this is all they have to do, and then you're asking me to do. That's not good.
And that's kind of, thank you, I appreciate that. I also, it says they're gonna assist with coursework, they need to be somewhat qualified, so.
Right.
Have not any,
Not just pass the mirror test.
yeah.
Not just a lot.
Okay.
but how does that even work? So if you got one kid in there doing high school geometry and another kid in there doing social, I mean,
It's not perfect. But again, to your point, it's better than
right.
your home.
Yeah,
So
I guess they better take good notes.
exactly. No, that's what I'm saying.
make it your duty. make
Like,
teachers
check
do
your
that.
notes, you didn't take any.
That's a problem.
Well, there's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Okay, we got two.
Look at this, just like smacking flies. Okay,
Can we go back to transportation supervisors? Or we want some more detailed duty description?
I'm not on
Not
board
on
with that
board.
right now. Yeah. I'm not saying, never, I'm saying I need more information and more. I need some numbers, how many bus drivers do we have? How many, again, job description as far as like. What will their duty be? Again, to be inclusive, yeah, I need.
Is there anything else that jumps out at anybody on the list that we want to discuss?
yeah, I want to table the athletic coordinator, not forever, but for at least now.
Can you clarify for me what you mean by table?
Well, I just want to.
He's staying on the list.
He'll
or
stay
you-
on the list, but I am not pro athletic coordinator at this time.
Mhm. Okay,
I mean, I'm not saying never, I just not quite yet.
Okay, for the sake of time and sanity, let's, how about, I'll get Mrs. Kiplinger's information to her and that she's asked for the transportation supervisor. We'll get some suspension numbers, just kind of have an idea what we're talking about. And I'll send out just a little Google form ranking Just find out where everybody's at.
Perfect,
It's
perfect.
not a vote,
Mhm.
just give me feedback. Yeah, and if there are questions like Matt, if I knew this, or, you know, what's that evaluation caseload look like? Or next week, I'll put a comment section in there and you just let me know. And once you feel good about these decisions, I feel good about them, I feel like I've substantiated them. But I need help get you there, so do what I can. Get you the information you need, so you can walk that pathway.
Yep, that's good.
You had mentioned like maybe providing some more anecdotal reasoning behind them. I think that would help.
Don't say that line, because you're gonna have a line of people. We'll come to the board and we need these books and, yeah. But to your point, yeah.
Because, I mean, so far, not that the numbers and the charts that you provided, not that they're not helpful, but or needed, but it keeps getting pushed to the next meeting. We need something, we need more.
I'll bring it.
And I know some members of the community feel like it's just, those are just numbers game, like we're just trying to keep up with these districts. As far as admins. Just trying to keep up with, which I understand, your point in like, we're growing. If our admins stay the same number, their workload is increasing greatly, but more information.
Yeah, I guess what I would say to those folks, if they're listening, you know, the numbers thing is really, it's like, is it keeping up? Yeah, kind of, because if you look at the same charts, I also rank us against those very same districts on state report card, which is how our kids are performing. And we're not in the top half. We're at the bottom looking up in a lot of those categories. And so, you know, it's not about just keeping up with them just for the sheer of keeping up. It's like, we want to keep up. You know, I don't feel good about where our district ranks. Maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know. That's what matters to me. Okay, so how is that set up? It's no different than, you know, seeing a school that, I think it was Chardon or Chagrin that's on our list, that's consistently high in early literacy. I want to send a team up there. What are you doing?
It's pretty high dollar area.
I was gonna say, you're
That's-
probably wealthy
that's-
districts.
No.
Districts were wealthy.
When you look at those 10 categories, the formula that spits out are similar districts. It includes that piece. You know, we need, again, we are not a rural district anymore. We aren't high poverty. We're low poverty. We're a small town district without a doubt. So we are compared to those districts. And so, but again, Andrew, to your point, yeah, are we trying to keep up? Yeah, we are. Our kids have to compete with those kids when they graduate. So what are we going to do? Are we going to say, no, we got it, we're going to continue the way we're doing? And I don't think so. I think it merits a look at, okay, how's everybody else structuring how they do the business of education? So, sorry to lecture. It's a great point. I appreciate bringing it forward.
I would like to see some staff teacher ratios and touch point, like the people that actually interact with the student. So I don't want like blanket staff teacher ratios. I want like what are our goals?
Staff
for-
teacher ratio.
Yeah,
What is that?
or I'm sorry, the staff to student ratios, teacher to student ratios. Like, what does that, like, what is our goal? You know, is it 20 kids in a classroom for one teacher? Is it 25? where are we? Where's our projections? So, and same with the staff, you know, like, okay, so here, elementary secretary, this many students. You know, junior high secretary, this many students, whatever it is, but not generic. I don't want them grouped all together. I don't wanna say we have this many administrators for, 1,700 students or 2,000 students. I want it kind of broken down.
You'll get, listeners and viewers, to share with the board and with staff a breakdown of in the elementary per class, so you'll be able to, you'll see our, teacher to student ratio there. A lot harder to do once you go above that, once you go to middle school and especially high school. Because things get out of whack with, don't have as many kids signed up for AP chemistry or whatever as you do in your freshman science class. So
Then I
That-
think
that-
we need
that's-
to look at those, I mean, like,
that's
then
a little
we have to
harder
look
too.
at all of those courses and do some point. We're having one teacher for 4 students, that's not.
Well,
conducive. Not, but you,
I get that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't,
Right.
we'd try not to do that, but,
I guess what would be helpful is if, like, say, if the assistant principal for elementary is not hired, what would happen? The curriculum maps don't get done, I can't even make up. I don't know, but I guess that kind of stuff would help us understand by hiring this person, now we can, well, the curriculum map, I would use that as an example. But that was one thing that's not getting done, that needs to be done, that would benefit the kids' learning and academic achievement. So those types of things would be helpful. I would think.
appreciate that.
Good, we'll go on to that. Yep, sure. Now we're on to the board policies.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
We want-
you want to talk that because
Yeah, so, we been talking?
I'm not talking about it, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a first reading because we spent, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours. After last meeting, doing some updates and editing, which you can see now in the Neola policies 42.1. Yeah. So you can see in the pink that what's we are taking out, and green what we're putting in. And so Rachel, we have some, or Mrs. Kiplinger, I'm sorry, we have some light reading for you. Yeah, so take a look at that when you're ready, but it is a first reading.
We've enjoyed it, so
Yeah.
we want to share. it with
Hopefully there aren't any crazy changes, but I think we've got everything in there.
is that the emails I sent you?
Have you checked it against
Yes,
this
sir.
one?
Oh,
That's
has all
it.
been, oh,
So we'll check that. And then the last one is 5113 about intra-district open enrollment. And we're looking to just strike that from policy.
so does that mean, I had a question about, so does that mean we're not gonna do open enrollment with the exception of
Employees.
teachers? Yeah.
And I would say I would ask the board that we grandfather anybody in. Again, I think the list is maybe 16 kids.
I was gonna ask.
It's
There can't be that many.
it's
I don't
small.
even think it's 16 anymore.
No,
Maybe 10.
Anybody that's
Yeah.
been here a couple years and I would say-
Bought in.
we'd like to keep them going, but
Yeah.
I'll get that,
Mhm.
the numbers on that, so you have it.
Is that the main reason why that is going away? Or why you're asking to like cancel, I guess?
Yeah, so it says that we're supposed to review it every year, but then if you read through it, all it focuses on is attracting like, diversity. It focuses on, to me, that's how I read it, like it's looking about what's our racial balance and how many kids we have. I personally, if they're in our district, we teach them regardless of their, whatever their ethnic background is, whatever. I don't want to get in the game of counting numbers like, oh, well, we got to get a couple more, Chinese kids in the school district to balance everything out. So let's get those guys over here. And I believe that this one is one where we don't get funding for the kids either, right? Where normally if they would come in, they are normally.
No, the money follows the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if they open enroll here, used to be that wasn't the case, but if they open enroll here, then the money would follow the kids as the new fair school funding plan.
But this even states adjacent district, and that's been done away with for years.
Right.
So, I mean,
The whole
it's,
thing just.
I think it was, we were, why does it say here and not here? And
Yeah.
We kept saying just leave it, and then we were
This
like,
is.
why, this
Why do we
doesn't fit us.
yeah.
Right.
Really,
So then
we don't practice it.
Question about that, because I thought I saw on the website where a notice was
Yes.
put out the open enrollment.
Until we
Because we have
we
this
did-
This is still
policy.
on follow.
So we decommission.
Yeah,
Right.
as long as we have this policy in place, we sort of have to jump through those hoops. Yeah,
Well, we have the 10 or so that
yeah.
wants to, they wanna come
So
back.
they
So that-
still, they have to apply each year?
Yes.
Okay.
So it said we had the option to rescind it after reviewing it every year. So that's why we.
I don't think we-
So we'll bring it back in April. Changing it, so. Yeah, again, it's like,
This
it's
is,
a rule we're not enforcing, it's given,
Yeah, we don't do that.
it's a business.
And then before we move on from there, I noticed that you got rid of the, rotating per additional person from the board, helping participating in the building of the agenda for each month. And I know that has been in that, particular policy since, at least 2020, probably even before then, but, I know that was marked out, even though we were trying to get it corrected originally. So we're not gonna go forward with that.
I think what we were, and again, I could be wrong. I think what we were trying to do was just kind of limit the number of times we were meeting together. Thought we came to agreement. Gentleman's agreement or gentlelady's agreement that, that work session would be we're all doing it together. And so
But we all set the agenda for the session.
yeah, it's like, so, we put the draft of the agenda together and, what's coming from, our plates, but there's nothing that prohibits any of you at the work session to say, or call us and say, hey, I'd like this on unfinished business.
Yeah.
Can we put this as a discussion item? You're not gonna have anything under the recommendations, but you can add stuff to it, so.
So I guess it sounds like it's not like how it was done previously where maybe you and a board member met together and set the agenda.
yeah, it was previously, it was the superintendent, the treasurer, the board president, and then we rotated one of the other 4 members, right? And went through the agenda. Then we went to the work session and went through the agenda. Then we had another meeting before the actual meeting and went through the agenda. And then by the time we got to the actual meeting, we'd been through the agenda 4 times. 5
So
times,
the-
yeah.
The word set is, I think, what is somewhat deceiving, because what does that mean? Does that mean we're creating it together, or we're presenting, here's what it looks like right now as we're meeting on this date? It could change as we go forward. Let us take you through it. That's been my experience.
Right, and at the work session, you guys can add to or ask for additional information to help you make the decision for the next board meeting.
But the meetings that we had prior, we always brought, here's where the agenda, it wasn't like we were just starting from nothing. putting it together, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but it was, yes, that's true, but the
Yeah.
idea was to give everybody an opportunity to do that initial draft
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah, and if we're doing that at the work session.
Right,
Right.
you're giving us the framework and then we have the
Right.
input and.
And then we went to, we ask questions, we have questions, but we don't get into detailed discussion for the voting items because we save that discussion for here. So, because the majority of the people come to the regular meeting, and so we do the big discussion on the voting items. And then again, it's.
So no one member of the board is meeting with you all prior to the work session to quote unquote set the agenda.
Right, we did it once because
Your-
in February, because that was our first one, it was the first work session that we did. To kind of walk through how this is gonna look, because again, they were discussing it 4 times, having the same discussion 4 different times. So I did that one time, and then I typically share everything with everybody, and now we don't need that because we're all here to build the agenda during the work session.
So we can all add or take
Mhm.
away things.
At the work.
And have the opportunity to
Yep.
ask questions or put things in, so
Right,
it's,
get clarification. Well, we just don't want to discuss it twice.
yeah.
And I think that's fine, but the way it's written, it doesn't reflect what we just discussed. Because it says in cooperation with the president.
You change it right now, are we still in the first reading?
Hurry, hurry up. Bring us back. Put it in there so we haven't voted on it yet.
Sit tight. Here. Somebody's leaving. Or you on.
So
Okay,
you,
so
this line here.
it shall, hey, there you are. I'm just gonna take out, this shall be the responsibility of the superintendent and treasurer.
Yeah, I
Prepare.
would think it should be a superintendent and treasurer in cooperation with the board.
I would say superintendent and treasurer in cooperation with
Yeah.
the board to
Yeah.
prepare an agenda
Yeah.
of the items of business.
I agree.
to come before the board as each regular.
Good
meeting.
catch.
Just.
Will that work?
She left.
You almost got out. that one.
Put me back in.
I didn't know.
The treasurer should be.
I know, but you were almost out of it. Thanks, Natalie.
Well, she left early on, 2 hours. 2 hours.
In all fairness.
We allowed her.
I know, I went with you, Natalie.
Yeah. That's where you cook this up.
Yeah. Here we go, kids. It is, what I have right now is it shall be the responsibility of the superintendent and treasurer in cooperation with the board to prepare an agenda of items of business to come before the board at each regular meeting.
Okay, so we'll replace
Save.
that here. Okay,
Okay.
I've saved it in the draft.
all right, so
Okay.
then we'll cut and paste that in there for you guys. What's that? Perfect.
I did,
Test scores are rising. Good job.
thank you. Thanks. I did notice on, can you explain the 2 differences between the 2 transportation things that read identical? The 3180 and the 4180? And there
3120 and 4120, the classified staff.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, one's for classified, one's for.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah.
I did not,
Yeah.
must
Yeah.
So back in the parent,
If it's,
You have to go
yeah,
back
there's
and
the
look at
parent one, the 3120 is not point something. If you went back to 3120 in the policies, they would say classified. And
Classified.
if you went to 4120, just 0.0.
It
would
just,
say
yeah.
it would say certified.
the 31s are your certified or certificated,
Uh-huh.
depending on who you're talking to, right? And then your 41 is always classified.
Okay.
There's always some minor difference between the two.
And then in the one transportation, it looked like there was like maybe there was some movement of paragraphs, but the last paragraph and the third from the bottom paragraph were identical. So just a little,
What policy?
It was the,
What was that?
the one, transportation, sorry. Yeah. But yeah.
8,600?
Yeah, here. 74. 80.
Oh, no, I apologize. It was about volunteering. I apologize.
8120.
This one here, volunteers.
Yeah, if you go to the bottom.
See the
No,
list.
on that one. Oh, sorry.
It wasn't that one?
Oh, well, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But the fair standard, I just want to double check. I know that got moved up a day to Friday at midnight for the 40-hour work week.
Yes.
Does that mean if they make it to, I don't know, is it 40-hour work and then they start making overtime on Thursday and Friday?
Mhm.
And does that happen often? Who does that?
Well, it shouldn't, because all overtime is supposed to be according to board policy approved by prior to actually working it. And the way the policy reads to the superintendent to say yay or nay. Of course, he can designate like, Mr. Bird, if his maintenance guys need to come in on a Saturday, Sunday or whatever to help with facility rentals or things of that nature. So it's supposed to be pre-approved. So we're getting a better handle on it. But it does happen now, so, but we are trying to get a better handle.
And so that would begin Friday at midnight.
Mhm. Yeah. That's on the FMLA or FLSA, the Fair Labor Standard. They gotta get my abbreviations right.
Yeah, not the MA.
Not the FML, not the FMLA, the FSL. Or FLSA, yeah. All right.
So Mrs. Kiplinger, see, it's wearing off. I have plastic. in mine.
Oh,
If you have any questions, give us a shout.
okay.
Yeah, that's it. That is it.
Okay, so we don't have any additional, I don't have any.
Nope. That's number 12, number 13.
So then the question is executive session, are we or aren't we? So we don't need one then, right?
Do you need one? So why is everybody looking at me?
Because you're in the middle of the table.
It's just like-
I
just had to share my-
Executives just say, we don't need one, right?
No,
Right?
there's a public hand.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could talk in an executive meeting with the board with what we were discussing earlier, because there were some policies that were brought to my attention. If I could, it won't take long.
So,
Sure.
can I have a motion to go into an executive session? For what reason?
I'm sorry. If they want to schedule a hearing, usually, yeah.
You had to have a hearing or can she just talk? Can we just hear and then?
If I'm just trying to figure out where it fits, because consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensate, where would it fit? Under executive.
Compensation?
I'm assuming the workers' comp policies that was discussed earlier.
Look under executive session on your computer. It has all the lists.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, you can read them?
Yeah, you got it, here we go. Sort of purchase board to discuss preparations for bargaining, to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or rules. Or
would think compensation. Mhm.
I don't.
This, I don't know.
It has, in order to have one, it has to fit into here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's gotta be number one. Right?
Appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of employees.
It doesn't fit in number five, does it? I would think it honor compensation. Is your, we're trying, so there's only 6 rules that we can, reasons why we can go in executive session. And the first one is being personnel, as is related to personnel issues. So we're trying to, not knowing what exactly we want to talk about, but if it's, you just gotta, does it fall, so here, I'll read it to you and you tell me if what you want to talk to us about falls under this. So, we can have a motion to go into executive session for the following reasons. Number one, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student, unless the employee, official, licensee, or student requests a public hearing.
Compensation.
Okay.
I just want to be careful. We're already in.
Yeah, we're already in
We're at
policy.
this road.
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Must be popular skin here.
What would be the proper channel for someone if they wanted, they had something that they want? They need to take it to their supervisor, they need to take it to. You all, I'm just asking, I don't know.
Yeah, they would follow the chain of command, the supervisor up through the superintendent, and then he would share with us what they said. But, so do you feel, so you've already followed the,
Yeah, it was just how things were stated, that was right, I had followed the procedures that I was told to follow. Is what I'm saying, I did what I was supposed to do, but the way it's being stated is that I did not fill out my paperwork. I did not, come in to work when I was supposed to. I was not, I followed my paperwork, I came in, I asked what procedures and policies what I was supposed to do. I did what I was supposed to do with the paperwork. I was not informed, I was told I could not drive from, workman's comp. I was not told from anyone that I needed to come in to do other jobs. I was not informed of that, I was not informed of anything until the 23rd, and I came back on the 24th.
so maybe this is.
There's just no communication between the administration and transportation, and I've been in the medical field for 20 years, and I'm a stupid person. I just don't understand why the communication's not there, and then I worked very hard, and then to be told that I didn't come in and do what I was supposed to do.
So perhaps maybe this is more of a meeting for you guys. Can you and your supervisor, would that be, and then schedule and get on both your calendars, right? And have that
It just
discussion.
needs, communication needs to be there, and it's not there. And it's unfair for me saying that I didn't follow policies and procedures when I was not even informed of policies and procedures, and they were never given to us when we started either. So that's where the disconnect is, and it's a shame, it shouldn't be.
So I guess that, yeah,
Okay, so,
is, go ahead.
under complaints, this is for professional staff, but I think there's something similar. Should the matter still not be resolved? Or it is one beyond the superintendent's authority and requires a board decision or action. The complainant shall request in writing a meeting by the board. Board, after reviewing all material relating to the case, shall grant a meeting before the board.
Not an executive session
Right.
or just a meeting?
I'm just, that's,
Is
Just
that,
reading it.
is that our policy?
that's right from policy.
But if we're all there, then it has to be public. So she would have to meet with, you wanna meet with publicly?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I just need, this needs to be fixed is what I'm trying to do. This needs to be fixed. I understand the 8-day and that type of thing. But how this is done between administration and transportation and there's no communication, how am I supposed to know that this is, well, I didn't even know that website was even on, because I've never been told before.
Can we figure this out? Cause I really don't know what to tell you, but it doesn't
Right.
sound like it's gonna fit an executive session, but the executive session would just make it private for you.
Right.
But it sounds like that you're open to publicly do it, whatever, but I don't know right now what fix I can offer you. So, I think we'd have to investigate more and figure out exactly how to proceed with this, if that's okay,
Right.
and then.
That's fine.
And then
I
we'll-
just wanted to be heard with and to know where the disconnect is,
Mhm.
you know, so
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen to someone else. Like it's happened
Absolutely.
to me. It's just.
So we'll do that, does that sound like a
Pardon me?
good, we'll do that, we'll figure out what we need to do and how we can address this and how we can fix it going forward and
Appreciate
and prevent it from happening again.
And then we can meet with you.
And we'll have more time to figure out policies and whatnot. Thank you. Okay, so we do not need an executive session?
No.
Everybody, did you want to phone a friend? Ask-
No. Yeah, pick it down. Everybody make a motion.
Can I get a motion?
That we talked about early on, that you maybe, I just wanted to, it was brought up earlier, so I just wanted to follow.
No, I mean, I guess if I'm gonna get shared on job descriptions and all of that jazz, then that'll give me some time to
I share it, you
Digest away.
Yeah.
Make sure you're on.
All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion we adjourn the meeting.
You didn't mind if you were organized on that one.
No.
Wait a second before she changed her mind.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No, we're good. Okay, so you take motions? Mrs. Laskowitz? Yes. Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. You're not.
Ringer.
9:33 p.m.
That's pretty good for us, yeah.
That's. Let's go outside.